Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard style recode by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear, the former Tasmanian. Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
And a very good morning, everyone, and welcome along to Greyhound Gossip. Big weekend of greyhound racing. The $1 million chase, of course, WA finishing third, and also an outstanding weekend of chasing here in Western Australia with the Great Western Heats and also the All-Star Sprint Heats as well. Just before we get into all of that, just want to announce, which we did on Friday, in case you missed it, the winner of our Tab Touch competition, where you got the opportunity to text in on the Retrovision text line to tell us your 8 WA sprinters and stayers of the last 50 years. And of course, coming up on Sunday, the 8th of December, we will announce the top 8 WA sprinters and stayers and the number 1 WA greyhound of all time over the last 50 years. That'll be held at the Cannington Exhibition Centre. And our winner was from Kwinana, Brendan. Well done to Brendan. He texted through with his selections for the top 8. The difference that Brendan sent through was his top 8 of all time, so sprinters and stayers that he mixed together. His number 1 was Miata, number 2 Sandy's My Mum, Tommy Shelby, Mr. Toe White, Regimite, Afro Freeway, Sage to Neil and Crumble Manelli. So congratulations to Brendan, and he won our $200 voucher, which hopefully he used and won over the weekend. And of course, keep Sunday the 8th of December free for the official naming of the top 8 WA sprinters and stayers. Of course, across in Sydney, the $1 million chase, we had 2 WA chases. Of course, there was a little bit of controversy earlier in the week, a lot of controversy with the redraw of the $1 million chase box draw. We saw Bezecchi go from box 2 out to box number 8. Certainly didn't help him. And we also saw the other WA chaser for David Hobby coming into a draw. And as we saw, David Hobby's WA star was able to lead from box number 3.
They're racing. Explicit missed the start. Blue Camaro away fast. He leads at the first corner. Sunset Fraser's pushing through. Sunset Fraser leads from Blue Camaro. Odds Comet a third, Zipping Megatron getting up on the rail. They're followed next by Boat Bowers, Ace Inconspicuous in trouble with Bezecchi and Explicit out the back. Sunset Fraser off the back leads by a length. Blue Camaro to the outside. Zipping Megatron's run up behind them. Blue Camaro's hit the front. Zipping Megatron flies. It is the fairy tale win. Blue Camaro for Joshy Formosa has beaten Zipping Megatron and Sunset Fraser.
So that was Friday night. Blue Camaro winning at $23 on fixed odds with Tab Touch for Josh Formosa. Well done to the Victorian. Zipping Megatron finishing second. And Sunset Fraser, as he did in the Sandgroper earlier in the year, he led for a long way and was run down, but did a great job in finishing third. And Bezecchi was unlucky, finishing back in 5th place. So congratulations to all concerned there. And I'm sure David Hobby would have been very, very excited where he saw his wonderful chaser, Sunset Fraser, show the speed that he did. We had a very good night. The Shinners had a very good night there with Miss Envy taking out the consolation of the $1 million chase. And also on Friday night, we had the final of the Sydney Cup, and that was taken out on by Exploded for Jason McKay, the favourite, defeating Ella's Babe and also Bandit Darryl. Friday night saw the heats of the Great Western, and the box draw has taken place, and it's a very open field. Ned has drawn box 1 currently with Tab Touch at $4.50. Apache Havoc also at $4.50 in 2. Bo Cruz at $7, along with Torino at $7. Then we have our Aussie Opal 10 in box number 5. Another James $7. What a Ripper $4.50. Box 7. Lip Tricks at $9. Sunset Ali is the first reserve and currently the favourite with Tab Touch, quoted at around $2.30. So really looking forward to the final of that. We also had on Saturday night heats of the Group 2 All-Stars Outstanding Series, and Emerald Dancer was the quickest qualifiers. Drawn box number 1 in the final, comes up at $2.65 with Tab Touch Wise Baron 2 at $11 was also a very good winner. Daddy's Girl $26, Bungee Man in box 4 $15, Molfetta Cruise $6, My Anarchy Boy, who led from box number 1, now goes out to box 6 in the final at $2.90. Burglemere in $7, $15. Sunset Nightjar $6. It's going to be an outstanding race, the Group 2 final. And, of course, there's been some very good greyhounds that have won this race over the years, going back to the original winner, Pied Issue, in 1977 for Dennis Collegia. And since then, some very smart greyhounds, the likes of Sandy's Mum in 1990. We saw Regimite in 1998, Ultimate Rebel in 2001. A couple of Victorians came across. Cape Aussie won it in 2006. Pez's Tiger in 1996. Queen Lauren from Queensland in 2009. And then some of our best chasers, the likes of Vocal Enforcer, Hot Irish, Road, Equanimity, Chips and Trains, Sunset Nuclear. Vice Grip won the race twice in 21-22, and West on Burnie was successful last year for trainer Chris Holz. Let's head to our first special guest on Greyhound Gossip this morning, and we're going to the winning trainer of Emerald Guard, the favourite for the Group 2 All-Stars. Morgan Turner joins us online this morning. Morgan, good morning. Outstanding run by Emerald Guard, 27.05, quickest qualifier there on Saturday night, and you must be excited going into the final this week.
Yeah, yep, pretty happy with the run and pretty happy with the box draw.
What did you think going into the series? It's a really strong WA-based chasers at the moment. There were a couple across on the East Coast, which made it a little bit easier. But the fact that he came up with box number 1 prior to his heat must have made you happy, because he's won 4, or going into that series, he'd won 4 or 5 from box 1.
Yeah, the box draw's the key for him. Slow beginner. Comes home strong, but he wants the rail. So, yeah, box 1, 2 or 3 is ideal. I think this is the 5th final he's been in, and he's had boxes 5, 6, 8, 6. So box 1 in this one's ideal.
What would it mean to you to win this race? Because this would be your biggest win in greyhound racing if successful there on Saturday.
Yeah, it would be great. Not really the money. We put a lot of money into the sport, so it'd be good to get some back. But, yeah, you do it for the love of the dog.
Can you tell us the story of Emerald Guard? So he's by Tommy Shelby, who's just taken all before him out of a bitch called Crown Manelli. Tell us about how you got Emerald Guard and how he came about.
Yeah, so we had Crown Manelli here and whelped the litter for Mike Quincy, and yeah, he wanted to sell the litter, so we bought the litter with a few friends of ours.
Did he always show a lot from a young age?
It was always up there. I think Toad, when we're trialling him, Toad was obviously the faster of the two. But, this dog's improved a lot as he goes around. And
he's done most of his racing at Mandurah.
Yeah. So he started off at Mandurah, and then we took him up there, up to Kingston for the Derby heats, and I gave him a box-to-box. Went pretty good. I think he went 24-14, and then put him in the heats. But, yeah, it didn't go so well there. So, yeah, and then I took him to Northern for a trial. He trialled really well up there as well, but he's a pretty hyper dog, so early races are also helpful for him. And the kennels up at Northern are pretty open, so it would have been stressing, I reckon.
Yeah. What's he like when he gets to the track? You know, the fact that he hasn't got that early speed. You mentioned that he loves the rail. How do you watch the race from behind the boxes, and how do you feel knowing that he has to be able to negotiate his way through most of the field?
As long as it doesn't really matter where he starts, as long as he's near the rail, because he's pretty strong. I think even on Saturday night he was maybe 6 when he came out.
Yeah.
And as long as he can find the rail without too much trouble, then he'll come home pretty strong. I'm looking forward to when Cannington opens up and then put him over 600.
Speaking of 600, Malfetta Cruz has won over that distance. He's a very strong dog. He led you. Were you confident that your boy would be able to run down a strong greyhound like Malfetta Cruz like he did?
No. I was, when I was seeing Malfetta Cruz out in front, I was a little concerned, but yeah, he's pushed up and got the job done.
Yeah, remarkable. Now, he's drawn box number 1. He's never been beaten in 5 starts from box 1 at Mandurah, so he's 5 from 5 track distance and box. He comes up with box number 1 in the final. Wise Barrow's drawn on your outside. Malfetta Cruz in 5 and My Necky Boy, who's also a slow beginner and second favourite out in box number 6. Who do you see as the hardest to beat?
My Necky Boy would still be the hardest to beat.
And does he get any treats after the race, or what do you do and how do you celebrate if you won a race like this?
On Saturday night, went to McDonald's, got him a couple of ice creams and a box of nuggets for the rest of the kennel. Celebrate for everyone.
Beautiful, beautiful. We wish you all the best of luck, Morgan. He's an outstanding chaser. You've had a lot of fun with. He's now won in excess of, I think, $60,000, and he's WA bred as well. So you know what the benefits of the bonus owners and breeders bonus is for you. So we wish you all the best of luck in what is a rich race on Saturday night.
So easy. Thanks for having us.
Good on you. Morgan Turner, who has the favourite in the Group 2 All-Stars final, coming up on Saturday night at Mandurah. And as I mentioned, last year taken out by West on Booney. We saw over the weekend, or last week, we saw the invitations go out for the Top Gun. And we're about to be joined by our next special guest on the program in Corey Smith to talk about the Top Gun. I'm sure he was watching, if he wasn't already up in Sydney on Friday night, and he might have been there, he would have been watching the chasing very, very closely, and he would have seen a WA star in Miss Envy take out the consolation of the $1 Million Chase.
Racing now, he was away reasonably, Power and Glory. There's good speed, 7 Sinners. Out fast, Yogan Bale and deeper, Sammy Ethan, and Miss Envy's whipping around them. Miss Envy's found the lead and she darts away from Sammy Ethan and Yogan Bale. Getting through 4th, 7 Sinners. There followed Power and Glory off the track from Scarlatti. Well back, Power Paws and Trunky Chief. Miss Envy to the home turn, leads by a length and a half on Yogan Bale. Power and Glory winds up the outside, but it's the national sprint winner, Miss Envy, clear, and Miss Envy beats a luckless Power and Glory. Yogan Bale third.
Yeah, she was very, very good. It was a good night for the Shinners kennel as well, with a couple of wins and also a place getter. So a big night for WA, with WA finishing also third with the brilliant chaser Sunset Frazier for David Hobby. We're about to be joined now by our next special guest on the program on Greyhound Gossip. Corey Smith from Victoria joins us. He's from the Meadows, and as I mentioned, Corey, and good morning to you, or good afternoon over in Victoria. The invitations have now been sent out for the Top Gun Sprinters and Stayers series coming up on the 9th of November. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Pleasure to be with you. Yeah, it's an exciting time of the year for us here at the Meadows. The Top Gun, it always creates plenty of conversation, plenty of excitement, plenty of people that think we get it wrong, plenty of people that think we get it right, and that's what makes the race so much fun. But you're right. You touched on Miss Envy there. I just heard the audio. I was there up in Sydney and saw the racing, and it's been a little bit different for the panel this year. Obviously, the way that the dates have worked out. We've had the Cranbourne Cup heats over here in Victoria. We've obviously had the $1 Million Chase. The Adelaide Cup's just been run and won, and there's been plenty of interest in those sort of races. So we put out the invitations last Thursday a little bit more on the quiet side. We will be putting out some media releases a little bit later today with the full list and those sort of things. But it's been a bit of a different year in the build-up. We've kind of let it just do its own thing, and while it's still exciting, while we're really keen to get the full list out there's probably still going to be some late invites going out as well. So a little bit different for the Top Gun this year, but plenty of interest, I'm sure.
So the panel will be getting together this week?
Yeah, later this week. So this weekend, the panel will be getting together and having a bit of a conversation, a bit of a powwow, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of heated discussion, Pete, as you well know, but I'm nice and excited for it. It's a great time of the year.
So a greyhound like Blue Camaro, who comes out and wins the $1 Million Chase, his form was fair. He was the outsider of the field prior to that. How does the panel look at a $1 Million Chase final?
I always love these sort of questions leading up to the panel meeting, because I can only really speak for myself, but In previous years, the $1 Million Chase winner is obviously really, really highly thought of. We saw Jay's Jay win it last year and then go on to run in a Top Gun. So there's definitely no knockers on the $1 Million Chase, and just because it's not a Group 1 doesn't mean that it's not considered as one in the mind of the panel. And Blue Camaro is a really interesting one. He's gone 29.20s at Sandown, 29.60s at the Meadows, so he's got fast times on the board, but didn't quite have the group race form, and well, arguably still doesn't, given the $1 Million Chase doesn't fit as a group race, but he's a sort of greyhound that's been in tough races over the last few weeks, and he's stood up to the test. So I'm sure the panel will be putting him really high in their consideration, but I really don't know where they're going to land with a greyhound like that. But there's certainly been no knockers on the $1 Million Chase form.
Just on the sprinters, there's going to be some very exciting chases from the East Coast that we saw some of those go around in the $1 Million Chase, like Explicit on Friday night. What about from a WA point of view for our listeners this morning? How many West Australian sprinters have received invitations so far?
So there's quite a few. It feels good because I love the WA dogs. I think they stack up wherever they go, and we just heard the call of Miss Envy just then, and she's one of them. Malfetta Cruz, Transcendent, Sunset Fraser, Kane and Stark, Uncle Tommy are all going around in the 5.25, and then the 7.30 Sage Chanel and Savic will both be in consideration as well. So quite a few WA raiders set to be in consideration from the panel, but we'll see how many of those get a run. But it's certainly a fair feather in the cap for WA to have so many in consideration at this stage.
You've got a very parochial member of your panel that I'm sure will be pushing up the WA chases on Friday. But the WA form, you will admit, is very, very strong at the moment. We've got a strong stranglehold on the Nationals, winning 4 of the last 5 of those. And we saw in South Australia recently Miss Envy salute, and then she followed that form up in Sydney. What do you make of her, and does the national sprint champion, some people believe that the national sprint is not as strong as it used to be. How in your opinion, does the national sprint stand up when we talk about the Top Gun field?
I don't think there's any doubt that it probably you'd rather win an Australian Cup or a Melbourne Cup or a Brisbane Cup or a Perth Cup. Those sort of races are generally stronger than a national sprint, but that's not to detract from the fact that it is still a Group 1 race and there's still really quality greyhounds that go around in it. Miss Envy, I've got a massive opinion of. I was there on Sandgroper night when she debuted, and I was speaking to Steve Shinners, and he said, no, she goes pretty well, and I had a couple of my hard-earned on, and she unfortunately went no good, and then as soon as I jumped off, I don't think she's missed a placing since. So she's been absolutely flying. Everyone over on the East Coast knows how good WA form is, and that national sprint final, I should say, Pete, it was actually a really high quality race with plenty of talented dogs in it. So I think that'll be considered pretty high up in the rankings once the panels meet.
Would the Meadows and the Victorian panel or the Australian panel for the Top Gun like to see a greyhound like Sunset Fraser, who you saw lead by a long way in the Sandgroper earlier in the year, and then saw him lead again on Friday night in the $1 Million Chase? If he led in the Top Gun, it would certainly make it a very interesting race.
Yeah, it certainly would. He's obviously got some traits where he likes to get to the rail, he has early speed, and then he does tire a little bit late. And we saw Hector Foley run him down in a Sandgroper. We've seen him get run down by Blue Camaro in a $1 Million Chase, but he has won a Group 2 Blacktop as well in between. So he wouldn't look out of place in a race like this. Where he stands will be interesting to see. I think he's probably on the precipice, but whether the winning form is consistent enough, I'm not really sure. But he's certainly got a really bulked out resume, and he's certainly a greyhound that wouldn't look out of place in the absolute elite of the elite races.
Uncle Tommy won the Perth Cup earlier in the year and then went to Brisbane and won a Group 1 up there as well. We haven't seen a lot of him. How do you take the form from earlier in the year when we're deciding on a race that's going to be run in November?
Yeah, well, that is always interesting. I think in years gone by, there was a real focus on group race form, and it was really considered the be-all and end-all in regards to picking a Top Gun field. We saw last year a greyhound like Scalacci getting selected, which was hotly debated, hotly contested, with only, I think, Group 3 form leading in. So you have two of the biggest races on the calendar have been won by Uncle Tommy, and then as of late, he probably hasn't been as dominant and and really kind of stamping his authority on the upper echelon of the sport. But you can't detract from the resume. The resume is there. The 2 big races that he's won are there, and he's got to be highly in consideration, I would have thought. But at the same time, we have changed the conditions over the last couple of years to open it up to greyhounds on the rise and greyhounds that are probably more in form at this stage. So, I'm not too sure where the panel will sit on him, but he's another greyhound that is obviously very, very talented, and you cannot detract from the fact that he's won a Perth and a Brisbane Cup. They're both massive races and both chock full of quality.
And just one final one that I'll try and get out of you, Bezecchi. So he runs the second quickest time ever recorded at Wentworth Park, and then the box draw was thrown into disarray and comes up with box number 8 and had no luck in the final. The times, does the panel look at the times that greyhounds have run? And I'll mention Bezecchi, but also the fact that the Top Guns run at the Meadows, the quickest times at the Meadows?
Yeah, definitely. I think everything gets kind of put into consideration. Everything gets thrown in a bowl, and you mix it all around, and then you have arguments about what carries more weight. And Bezecchi, I think he was obviously borderline, for lack of a better term, crucified by the change in the box draw of the $1 Million Chase. I thought he was in with a massive chance, and he's clearly a very, very fast animal, Pete, as everyone over in WA would know. So I'm not sure. Maybe if he had finished a little bit closer in a $1 Million Chase, he probably solidified his position in a race like the Top Gun. Whether that one run and a bit of WA form is going to be enough to get him into the race, I'm not sure, but he's been invited for a reason, and that's for the panel to kind of decide and come up with and debate whether he's done enough to get in or not.
Really excited to see who the panel come up with, and we meet on Friday. So looking forward to catching up with you then. And also the Phoenix is just around the corner. Of course, we've got a couple of greyhounds which you'll go through that have already been named by slot holders. But it was very exciting. It's the world's richest greyhound race, and coming up in December, all eyes will be on Victoria again and the Phoenix.
Yeah, I was intrigued to hear Josh Formosa in his post-race interview of the $1 Million Chase. He mentioned the Phoenix, about how good would it be if you could go on and win that. So there's everyone that wins a race is looking to try and get into it. It's a bit of a different sort of race than the Top Gun. I think when the Phoenix was announced, a lot of people thought that the Phoenix would just essentially be the Top Gun field replanted. But we've seen greyhounds that haven't even been in consideration for a Top Gun run really well in a Phoenix and win a Phoenix, including She's Fast at her 7th start a few years ago. So you do look at greyhounds that have a lot of early speed, good Meadows form, and each slot holder has a different opinion, which is what makes it so exciting and what makes the slot so hotly contested. You might have a greyhound win multiple Group 1s, and the slot holders just don't consider that it's the right fit for that particular race. So you never know where they're going to go, the slot holders. But if you're putting up $100,000 to buy a slot, you can do as you please with it. If you're asking me.
Gee, it's exciting, isn't it? Greyhound racing across Australia at the moment. You were up in Sydney the other night and saw the fanfare there, and I know there's no bigger fanfare than what we'll see at the Top Gun and also the Phoenix and the Melbourne Cup in between that. So some very exciting times for greyhound racing across Australia. Corey, thanks for joining us this morning. I look forward to catching up with you hopefully on Friday, and if not, maybe we can get you across to WA for the Sandgroper next year, because I believe that you're a very good chef and we might be looking for a chef over here.
I'll give it a crack, Pete, but I don't know if I'm better off being behind the jump, being in the kitchen, or being out in the bar and having a couple of frothies. But there's a couple of talents there that I could capitalise on. Good
on you, mate. Enjoy the week, and looking forward to the Top Gun field being announced later in the week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pete.
Good on you. Corey Smith joining us from the Meadows, and the invitations have been sent out for the Top Gun. Let's hope we can get a few WA greyhounds into those finals. A break and then back with Often Pacing.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.